Welcome to Pigeon River Farm, doing farming right. I'm Robert Brown, the owner of Pigeon River Farm. Thank you for viewing. Good evening. In tonight's episode, we're going to talk about something a little different here. I'm a big believer in information, and an acute believer in information, I should say. And one of the things that I actually have got a lot of wisdom out of many books are books that were written a long time ago. I found that kind of the golden age for agriculture and the depth of knowledge seems to run around 1880s through 1930s. And then, of course, as everybody knows, after the war, chemical fertilizer became the norm in our world. Well, tonight I'm going to talk about Fresh Air Poultry. It's a book that I've used and enjoyed reading and got a lot of wisdom out of it. I've actually implemented a lot of plans for the farm utilizing this book. And in this book, the focus is on fresh air and sunlight, something that's been sorely missed in the agricultural industry. As you all know, if you watch any of my videos, I'm a big believer in pastured everything. We pasture our cattle with phenomenal success. Health problems are almost non-existent. We do the same thing with our goats. But our chickens, we have, there's some challenges with chickens during this far north, is the harsh winters. But we don't let a little thing like winter get in our way. Utilizing this book, and this is written by Dr. Wood, MD. He's a medical doctor, 1924. I have to laugh. One of his main concerns was the modern poultry operations and where they were going, meaning they were going into confinement, and he realized that this was going to be a major health issue for the poultry industry. He was a beloved poultry. It was his passion, along with being a medical doctor. And at the time, if you go back to this point, there was a thing called an asylum. That was where people were interned for health reasons. Tuberculosis, things like that were epidemic throughout our society. And the doctor realized that if you could get people out in fresh air, one of the things they used then was fresh air porches. In other words, you'd sleep on a porch, in an enclosed porch in the wintertime, so you had that fresh air. He found that many of the problems went away. Well, he felt the same thing with poultry. Yet the poultry industry was already going in that direction. I think it's kind of humorous thinking about somebody from 98 years ago, focus was the concern. Well, look at where we are today. Confinement operations are almost unfathomable. I mean, we put 500,000 chickens into a barn, and we give them artificial light and artificial air and basically just big circulating fans. And that is how we actually raise our poultry livestock today. Not on this farm. On this farm, we've found the magic of using high tunnels. So in our particular case here, we have a layer barn, and it's conjoined with 3 high tunnels. So we have 10,000 square feet of wrapped sunlight for the winter months. The birds are in there. It's beautiful sun. So we have 2 things. We got the sun, and we have the fresh air. With that much space, we allow those side curtains to come down, so there's always some air booming in there. And one of the keys that I was thinking about when I was putting this together is I have to go to other farms to smell that terrible ammonia smell of chicken manure. It does not exist on our farm. It's just not a thing. Again, utilizing this for all it's worth. But this book, they went into so many details here of configurations of poultry barns. Stuff that we'd be proud of if we built today. Southern facing windows, just like you'd want in your house. I built a house like that. My son built a house like that. It works really well, and the birds need that sunlight and need the ventilation. This book is just completely filled with tricks and techniques and so on. The author was out of eastern Massachusetts, so those are from the East Coast. No, it's pretty damp winters that you have there. But utilizing these techniques, he claims, and I have to believe it because I've seen it with my own eyes, little or no health problems, yet the industry at the time was going for confinement. And the reason confinement, I believe, and the author here stated the same thing. So 98 years later, I've come up with the same conclusion. It's for the convenience of the farmer. It's a perfect environment to work in. You don't have any of the challenges. You just make a climate-controlled environment. And in our arrogance, we think it's the best for the health. Well, it's not the best for the health by any stretch of the imagination. And we have proof of this. So if you are looking at having a flock of chickens, this particular book, I really should have checked before I did the video here. I probably believe it's still in publication. Norton Creek Press is the publisher for it, and it said a copyright of 1924. Of course, it was reprinted in 2008, so that's the latest printing of it. But a book like this, to me, has been invaluable. It's allowed me to run, I would say, a very successful poultry operation. And so let's not forget the wisdom that is found in these older publications. There was incredibly bright people thinking about agriculture holistically. We literally are dusting off what was learned 100+ years ago today and saying, hey, we just discovered something new. Now, so if you've got a poultry operation, keep it clean, keep the airflow going in there. You think about poultry, they were not intended to be inside. They don't build their own little shelters. They can survive in the trees. I mean, if you think about almost everything, wild turkeys, you name it, they don't have any shelter and they survive just fine. What kills them is the diseases that they get from all this love and care trying to keep them warm. We've never given birds heat, ever, other than baby chicks, of course, but adult birds, I always say that heated barn is death, because that's where all the disease resides. So keep that in mind. Another one I wanted to bring up, some of my own experience, and I've had people question this, and I got enough experience with enough layers to tell you, don't worry about it, is the temperature variation. Within our barn operation at night, whatever the outside temperature, let's say it's an extremely cold night where it gets down to -20 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit, brutally cold. Inside there, you're typically within a few degrees. It'd be typically about 15 degrees below 0, so not much gain. But on a sunny day in January, it can be 0 outside, but in the high tunnel, it can reach into the 70s and 80s. Now think about that temperature swing. 90 degree temperature swings, but yet we have no health problems at all. The birds can take it. They get more active as they get warmer. You have the air flowing in there. Remember, the big concern, actually I put in my notes here, one of the big concern everybody is worried about is drafts. Well, we have to avoid drafts for the poultry. That's something that's key. So fresh air and a draft are not necessarily the same thing. We need to do is get air circulated out. So designs that they cover in his book here go into a lot of that. And with the high tunnels, these are the Zimmerman brand high tunnels, they have the side curtains that come down from the top. So I can have these side curtains down a few inches during the winter time as the wind is blowing outside, and at the ground level where the plants would be during the summer and where the birds are during the winter time, there is no breeze, just beautiful fresh air. So I wanted to convey this information. I hope it's beneficial to everybody who's watching here. And so consider taking natural approaches. I'm all about technology, but consider using natural approaches. They work. So I thank you very much for your time and have a most wonderful evening.